You know, it's been a while since I've gotten to say this, but I feel like I'm finally happy again, or at the very least getting back to that point of where I'm just like consistently happy or in a state of normalcy. We're going to talk about some of that in this video, because for a while I was doing pretty good. I mean, for a while I was actually doing really bad, that being basically most of my life until about 2021. I want to say, towards the end of it. Well, that was actually kind of like a dark time of my life, too. It was kind of this, I don't even know how to explain it. I look back at 2021 and 2022 with a bit of, not nostalgia, I mean, it was 3 years ago, but I just have like an odd fondness for that period of time because it was a good time for the channel. It was a weird but good time for me as well, where I was finally figuring out what the hell I wanted to do with my life, because I was already starting to get a sense of that back in like 2020 or so, shortly after I moved to Florida, and kind of, you know, just sort of like a fresh slate, start over per se, because, you know, I lived in Pennsylvania for my entire life, and, you know, if you know my, I mean, anybody that's watched the channel for any amount of time, you know my story up to this point, and all the shit I dealt with growing up, and just how things were for me. And then I moved down here to Florida, and at that point, you know, I was like, oh, I was all alone. It was like a fresh slate for me, and I kind of started to get a grasp on what I wanted to do with my life. Well, at that point, though, I was still also trying to take my life in an inadvertent kind of way, because I was in the midst of my anorexia eating disorder, so I dropped down to an absurdly low weight. It started around the time that I broke my ankle, actually, that I started dropping weight, and that was before I moved, and it just kind of kept getting worse and worse for the next couple of years. I've struggled on and off with eating disorders for my entire life, so that was just one of those things where it creeped back up, but in a pretty ugly way. But anyway, getting back on, getting back on track, or getting back to the point here, towards the end of 2021, that's where my eating disorder became so bad that I genuinely almost lost my life, and I was basically bedridden for a while. At that time, I had also already started my YouTube channel, this YouTube channel. I've had many YouTube channels. I've been creating YouTube content on and off since 2009. But July 20th of 2020 is when I really started going ham on this channel, and I started, uploading daily. And I've never missed a day since then. That's something I'm very proud of. You know, even on the days where I haven't been there mentally or whatever, since July 20th of 2020, I've never missed a single day of uploading. If you go through this channel's history, there is something on the channel from every single day. And I am so damn proud of that. That's over half a decade now at this point, 5 years of just nonstop. And that's one of my things where I don't care how good or bad I'm doing. I will always make content because that is my statement. Even if I drop over dead today or tomorrow or, you know, in the next 5 minutes, that is my statement of, hey, this is something I stuck with. I showed up every single day, which means if I can do it, you can do it. And that's part of why I do it. I show up every single day to prove to other people that, hey, no matter what's going on, you can still keep showing up, not just for yourself, but for, you know, those around you, or just to kind of, I don't know, make a point. Be like, you know what, life, you want to throw me down? Tough luck. I'm still here anyway. I'm still doing my damn thing. Anyway. Yeah, so towards the end of 2021, that was at the point when I was still making YouTube content. My eating disorder got really bad, and then I was just like, okay, I can't work anymore, because, you know, I was still working at Subway at the time, and they told me, my manager talked to me, and they were like, we can't just let you do this to yourself anymore. Like, you gotta take some time off and get better. So I was like, all right. So I did. I took some time off, and I mean, eventually, I never ended up going back. You know, if you know the lore here, basically what happened is it was like 2 months into me recovering, and then they texted the group chat that we had saying that our store basically got bought out. It was really bizarre because the Subway is still there in the hospital. It was inside of a hospital that I worked at, but it was, you know, there was a Subway there, and it got bought out, and so the store is still there, but it's just completely different employees because it got bought by somebody else. I don't know. It's a really weird set of circumstances. And during my time off, I started binging a lot of video games because obviously I've always been a gamer. I've always loved playing a ton of video games, but it was during that time where I really rediscovered my love for single-player games, because for a while I'd just been playing a lot of multiplayer games with very few single-player games in between, but that's when I really rediscovered my love for single-player games. I finally bought a PlayStation 4 because for that entire generation, I played the PS4 multiple times. I had multiple friends that had it. I played on it a good bit, but I never, I never had one for myself. So at the end of 2021, or towards the end of it, I ended up getting one for myself, and I remember when I worked at Subway, that was also when I rediscovered my love for, I can't really say retro gaming, but just older consoles in general and older generations. Like, for example, I finally repurchased the Wii U, which still sits next to my PS5 and still gets used quite a bit, because I love the Wii U. I had that console during this generation. I remember, like playing Smash Bros. With people at the time. I remember that was at the time when I was still seeing my father. and he had a Wii U. He bought a Wii U for me and my brother, and we played like Smash Bros. And Mario Kart 8 on it and whatnot. So that was around the time that I bought that. I also during that time repurchased, what was it? I repurchased a PS3 a bit later on, but I purchased another PS2 because the laser, my original one, fried out at the time, and I didn't know how to, I wasn't aware that I could just clean the laser. So the other PS2 is long gone at this point, but I got another one at that point. I got an original Xbox and all that, so I was just rediscovering my love, or just like diving back into the weeds of like, these older consoles and single player games in general. And when I bought that PS4, I bought a bunch of games for it. I bought like Spider-Man 2018, Last of Us Remastered, because I love The Last of Us on PlayStation 3, so of course I wanted to go through it again. And I just kept buying all these games. I got like Battlefield Hardline, just revisiting that game, and I was just set. At the end of 2021, I started going through, a bunch of single-player games that I want to get to, and then through 2022, it was such a time for me because I was in the midst of recovery. So on one hand, it was one of the hardest times of my life, but it was also one of the most freeing because I was letting go of the shackles of my eating disorder, and I was letting go of all this nonsense and really letting myself fall into this new era of my life, I guess you could say, where I'm just focusing on content, focusing on my video games, focusing on my anime, and nothing else. That's just, I'm just doing what I want to do. And yeah, so it kept going, and then towards the end of 2022, that's where everything just went brink. Like that's just when everything clicked. That's when that's when life was like at its prime for me, like mid to late 2022 through early 2023. That was like the best time of my life. I was playing so many video games. I was making some killer content. That's when we first started the Dark Souls series on the channel. And if you know anything, Dark Souls is what got us from 300 subscribers to YouTube partner in a matter of like 3 months. It was quite a time to be alive, quite a time to be a content creator, and obviously things have only gotten a lot bigger since then. It's been almost 3 years since then, believe it or not, and the channel just continued to grow and grow and grow even faster, at a faster rate than ever before. And I'm just so thankful for everybody that is, it's such a silly prospect, right? That the action of dragging your mouse or scrolling and tapping a little button that says subscribe on it could mean so much to somebody or be so impactful to somebody's life. But truly, if it wasn't for those first 1,000 people simply clicking that little red button, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be a YouTube partner. And thanks to everybody that continues to click that little button and click the other buttons and click certain buttons to watch my videos. It's just like, if it wasn't for you guys doing that and supporting me through all the nonsense, I wouldn't be where I am today. Also, I apologize that I keep pausing. Right now my allergies are bothering me, and there's like some in the back of my sinuses, and I'm like trying to like subtly clear it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, and it's just stuck back there, and it's pissing me off. All right, I think I got it. Anyway, I hate my allergies so bad. So yeah, that was really like a great time to be alive. And then, Elden Ring, dude, the Elden Ring, that was everything. That series took off. All those videos did so well. That was when we got like our first sponsorship here on the channel too. It was great. And then 2023 came around, and I don't know what happened. I was better. I finally got better from my eating disorder at the end of 2022 in November. And I was doing pretty good until I wasn't. So at the beginning of 2023, for some reason, I just stopped eating again, or just started eating less again. And I wouldn't see the effects of that until towards the end of 2024. So things carried on from there. Things kind of just slowly got worse and worse with my physical health, my mental health, but I didn't pay too much mind to it. I was trying to brush it off like it wasn't that big of a deal. I noticed my body just going through a lot of changes again, and I didn't think much of it. I just figured, it's not a big deal. I'm doing just fine. And things were doing pretty well. I was still playing video games, still making content. We were still doing pretty good here on the channel. But then towards the end of 2024, I started to feel things slipping again, and I don't know what it is. It was something leading up to the release of Black Ops 6, because I don't think of my life in terms of years usually. I mean, like, I do kind of, but usually I can correlate it to like, okay, what Call of Duty was out at the time, or like what movie was out at the time. Like, I think 2014, okay, that's Advanced Warfare and Winter Soldier. You know what I mean? Like Captain America: Winter Soldier. like you can tell how common of a thing this is for me. I didn't even freaking remember to clarify Captain America. Like, that's literally just how I think about things. But it was leading up to the release of Black Ops 6. I remember my health. I was like, man, something feels impactful about Black Ops 6. I was like, something is telling me I'm going to be playing this game a lot, and something is telling me that this is a new age, not just for Call of Duty, but also for me. I don't know how to explain it. It's one of those things where I can just feel things in the universe. It probably sounds so stupid, but I can just feel energy like that. And yeah, leading up to the release of Black Ops 6, I was like, man, there's something that's going to happen during this game. And I remember because I had that same feeling back during Vanguard, leading up to that game's release. I was like, okay, something is going to happen here. There's something important about this game. And that was the year that like my eating disorder went crazy, and I was like, you know, basically I played that game like crazy because I was like a vegetable, you know. When I wasn't playing single player games, I was playing COD, because that's usually how I do it. I'll binge a bunch of single player games, and then I'll like play COD for a day or two before diving into the next one. Actually, no, I'll save that for later, what I'm playing right now. So yeah, and then Black Ops 6 came out, binged it like crazy, but I remember it was shortly after my birthday. I was like, oh man, yeah, my physical health is starting to really go down the shitter. Like, I could really feel it. There's just a lot of things going wrong with me, and by the time that holidays came around, like, you know, like Christmas time and whatnot, I was like, okay, yeah, my body's really fucked up again. But I didn't really try to even do anything about it. It wasn't until, like, I almost passed out on a daily basis again, which is something I hadn't experienced since the end of 2021 initially. When I was like, okay, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna try to get better now. So I started eating like a little bit more, but it was still like nowhere near enough. I was still like basically starving myself, and even my younger brother was telling me like, dude, you really gotta like take care of yourself here, which is, you know, that says a lot, because that's coming from my younger brother. You know, again, younger brother. Usually it's the other way around, where it's like older brother to younger brother be like, hey, buddy, you gotta take care of yourself. No, this comes from my younger brother, who usually isn't, like, he's not, like, very judgmental. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't, I don't know how to explain it. He speaks his mind, but he also just, he only says things if he really feels like he needs to say, you know what I mean? So even him, he was like, yeah, dude, you really gotta take care of yourself. You gotta start eating more. And then I was like, all right, shit, maybe that's my wake-up call. So I kept going, still wasn't really doing enough, and then January hit, and it all just went down the shitter. I don't know, it was around the time that Season 2 of Black Ops 6 released. Again, that's just how my brain correlates things. I remember it was shortly before the Tomb Zombies map release, because I ended up playing that map a lot, because at that point, my body gave out again. I told you guys that I was really sick with the flu or something, and that was true mostly, but I didn't want to explain the full truth of it being my eating disorder. It's not that I was hiding it from you guys. Rather, I was hiding it from myself. I didn't want to fully admit to myself that that was why, but that's why my immune system was so bad at the time, because everybody else in my family was sick at that point, but they didn't get sick nearly as bad as I did. Every time that I got sick or got allergies in the past, it always flared up really bad, and it probably always seemed really silly in the videos when I'd be like, oh man, my allergies are really bad right now, or I'm really sick right now. But, you know, for me, because of how bad my immune system was, because of my eating disorders and other nonsense I've done to my body, illnesses like that hit like a freight train. You know, for most people, you get a cold, it's like, oh, you know, it's nothing, you know, it's kind of like, you know, getting a little tap on the wrist, it is what it is. But that same tap on the wrist for somebody else was like a freight train at 250 miles per hour. Bro, my sinuses are still bugging me. Ugh. So that's how it all started. I was, off my feet, on my ass, and bedridden. I remember I slept for 50 hours. Like, it's just it was insane. Like, obviously I wasn't asleep for the entire 50 hours. Like, I woke up a few times to like get a little bit of food and like use the bathroom, but that was basically it. And I laid in bed for about a week, and yeah, it was pretty bad. And even after that, you know, I wanted to get back in my old routines of like over-exercising and under-eating and whatnot, but my body just wouldn't let me. I was at that point where I could tell I was on the edge again. I was on the edge back at the end of 2021 where I could feel the Reaper calling my name, you know what I mean? And it's one of those things where if you've never had like a near-death experience, you don't really understand it, because at this point, here's the thing, I am so used to near-death experiences that I don't really give a shit, you know? I just kind of sit there, I'm like, oh, come on, dude, like, Reaper, are you coming for me this time or are you not? Stop playing games with me, fool. Either come take me or stop messing with my head. It's like that 1X. Everybody has that 1X. It's like, girl, do you love me or do you not? That's how I feel with the Reaper sometimes. It's like, man, you've had so many chances to come and take me, but at the same time, I don't think it's a thing of the Reaper coming for me. I think it's a thing of me coming to the Reaper. That sounds really bad when I say it like that. Me going to the Reaper, you know what I mean? So, you know, because I've had a few experiences like that in the past, like the one time when I was a teenager and I drank way too much booze than what my body could handle, and I literally didn't think I was going to make it through that night just because, I mean, you know, if you've ever overdosed on alcohol or any other substances, you know. And I had that experience back in 2021 when I was laying in bed and literally couldn't do anything. And I had that experience again back in January where I was like, alright, Reaper's calling my name. I either get better or I don't. Like, there's really not an option here. And when you're in survival mode like that, you know, your instincts take over, and I did what I had to do, and I'm still doing what I have to do. I've basically been on 5 years of eating disorder and destroying my body, so, you know, I'm only 8-7 months, something like that, into recovery now, so it's gonna take a bit of time, yeah, probably a few more months, but I'm a lot better than I was. But unfortunately, that's not where the story ends. So basically, through 2025, things were going shitty, but not. I don't know how to explain it. So for the first couple months, my eating disorder recovery. Sorry, I'm starting to fidget with things. You can tell I'm really getting into my story. I start fidgeting when I start talking a lot. But a couple months into that, you know, I was just like playing a lot of Black Ops 6 and everything like that. And yeah, so I started switching up the. Ooh, man, I'm trying to be careful with how deep I go into some of these stories, because it's not like I have anything to hide from anybody, but there's also just certain things I may not want to touch on at this moment. Let me just say this. A couple months into my eating disorder recovery, I started trying to let people back into my life again. Okay, yeah, this is a good place to go with this. Okay, so shortly after I moved to Florida, like I talked about earlier, I basically just cut everybody off from my life, like all the old friends and whatnot, all my family or whatever, just because, you know, everybody's kind of a piece of shit. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, I just have never felt like anybody actually understands me. You know, I can sit here talking on the camera, I can talk with people online, people can tell me they get it, but nobody really gets it. You know, like there's some people that can say they empathize with certain things, or some people can feel like they latch onto certain things I say, but everybody's experience in life is unique to them and themselves. So obviously nobody's ever going to like fully be able to understand what I'm truly feeling or what I'm going through. That being said, yeah, I've never really felt like I fit in with anybody. I just really feel like I'm my own person in my own world, even though I'm coexisting physically with everybody else, if that makes sense. And that does come down to a lot of other disorders that I've talked about before, like how I struggle really bad with disassociation. Basically, I spend every second of every day feeling kind of detached from my own body, and it's just sort of like this weird feeling, along with all the other disorders I have. And, but yeah, you know, so I've spent like the last 5 years alone. You know, I've been like single for 6 years, and I've just been doing my own thing, you know, nobody else around. And I didn't, you know, it's not like I started going out in the real world or anything. Of course not. I haven't left my house in like 7 months just due to the reasons that I told you before. Thank God for like Amazon and Instacart. Am I right? But you know, still just like going online more, maybe, you know, trying to talk to people again, trying to, you know, get involved again. And yeah, that was a fucking mistake. Let me just put this as it is. So yeah, that was a couple months into my recovery, and I really tried, you know, and wow, man, let's talk about fuck ups of the decade. Whew. Like I said, I don't want to go too much into it, and I don't really want to talk about it or talk about any of the people involved, but holy shit, man, I lost sight of everything. I really did. I was so consumed by it because of just how much like stress came with it. It was just a bad and toxic situation. I feel like you can probably pick up what I'm putting down. So yeah, I've talked a bit about like, you know, my mental health in the last couple months and how shit's just kind of been like all over the place since earlier this year, and that really was the reason behind it. And I didn't want to talk about it, but we're here talking about it now. Yeah, it was toxic. It was just the whole thing. So basically, yeah, you know, I haven't gotten to play a whole lot of single player games in the last year is what I'm saying here. And, you know, I was playing a lot of multiplayer games and starting to interact with people again online, you know, just multiple people, you know, just trying to talk to people again, you know, like friends and whatnot, and just trying to, you know, try other things. And, wow, yeah, that was a mistake. Sorry, I'm traumatized, so my, like, eye contact is very bad. I just noticed I haven't been looking at the camera much in this video. I've just been looking around my room. That happens when I'm talking about situations that make me uncomfortable, or, topics that make me uncomfortable. It's just, you know, one of my bad trauma habits. Basically, anyway, about a month ago, I decided to be the bigger person and step out of the cycle and just say, fuck this shit, dude. I miss being happy. So I did. I stepped out of the cycle, and, it's been a little weird, been a little confusing, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, I've been trying to get better for like the last month after everything that's happened, on top of all the other physical things that I was dealing with. And this week I decided to go full in on getting back to my roots. You wanna know what I did? I decided to play Final Fantasy VII again. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I started it, what is it? At the time of recording this, it is Tuesday. I started it Friday evening. I played for 2 hours Friday evening. And then Saturday, I played for 7 hours. Sunday, I played for 7 hours. And yesterday, I played for about 7 hours again. Because basically what I've been doing is I'm getting back to what I used to do. I wake up, I work, and then I play video games. It goes 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm working. 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm gaming, watching anime, doing whatever I want. In fact, it didn't even just start with Final Fantasy VII. In fact, the thing that reinvigorated my desire to just get lost in digital worlds again was actually going back and watching Cyberpunk Edgerunners again. Because I did that last week. That was last Tuesday? Wednesday? Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. The days don't, one of those days. But I sat down, I was like, man, I really want to watch this again, because it's, one of the best anime ever made, and man, the post-trauma depression, or whatever you want to call it after that, still hasn't fully gone away. I've had I Really Want to Stay at Your House on repeat for like the last week, ever since going back and watching it, and I even got my mom to watch it too, which is pretty cool. She hasn't finished it yet. She's only on like the first couple episodes, but I even got her to check it out, which is pretty cool, because she hasn't really watched, like, she hasn't like committed to watching a full anime before, so I thought that was really cool. But I binged the entire show in one sitting, cause it's only 10 episodes, but it's like 4 hours long, a little over, like 4.5 hours long, roughly. So I binged it all in one sitting. I just sat there and just, binged through it, and I turned my phone off during it too, cause that's also been a bad problem of mine. I've been very attached to my phone because there's obviously, again, just toxic, not talking about it. So I turned my phone off completely, just tossed it off to the side. I put my headphones on, because that's another thing I started doing lately. Let me grab them real quick. I got these headphones I've been using for years. I used to have the Xbox versions of them, the Rig headphones or whatever, but now I have the PlayStation versions, and the reason I love these so much is because they're closed back headphones and they're noise canceling, so when I put them on and I start listening to stuff, the outside world doesn't exist, which for somebody with really bad racing thoughts and OCD and ADHD and all this bullshit, it's very helpful to have noise canceling headphones, because it kind of like cancels out the noise from everything else, and then just everything I'm experiencing is just right in my ears. So I watched all of Cyberpunk Edgerunners like that, and I felt something. I felt something while watching that harkened back to what I felt back in 2022. That feeling of, I finally feel like I belong somewhere. Because, again, with my disassociation and just all my other mental disorders, it's very hard for me to feel like I actually belong somewhere, and it's hard for me to really have a solid grip on reality. I just always feel like I'm detached, or like I don't belong, or like I don't, I just don't really feel like I have a reason to live. I'm just kind of here, just kind of going through the motions, just kind of waiting till it's time, I guess, and I know that sounds sad, but it's just true. I don't really feel a purpose. Because I don't even feel real. How can I feel a purpose if I don't even feel real, if I all feel like this is just all like a fucking dream? But every time that I watch anime or play video games, I feel so grounded, and it gives my brain something real to actually cling on to, and I'm able to get lost in these worlds in a way that nobody else can, because most people can get immersed in a game or a world or whatever, but when I play a game or watch anime, I feel like I'm in that world. My brain finally has a tangible world to connect to that actually makes sense unlike this real world. I feel like I'm there with the characters. I feel like, I'm just like, they're part of the adventure, and it's fucking awesome. And yeah, I had that feeling again while watching Cyberpunk, and I was like, man, this is what I've been missing. This is why I've been so miserable. I've been worrying too much about the real world and trying to satisfy other people, and try to belong in this world that I know I've never really belonged in. And, I made my peace with that. It's fine. I don't want to belong in the real world. The real world sucks dick. Let me just put it as it is. Like, the real world fucking sucks. I don't like it here. But I do like it in my anime worlds and, in my video game worlds and such. So, a few days later, I decided to turn my phone off again, Friday night, and I started Final Fantasy VII Remake, and, yeah, I just had that moment again of, like, yeah, this is, I'm gonna get back to this. This is like the feeling that I've been missing. This is what I want to do. I'm going back to my roots of how I do things, just playing a bunch of video games and whatnot, and blocking out the world. Because, again, you know, there's always gonna be people like, oh no, there's always a way. There's a place for you in this world. There's people for you in this world, and that might be true for other people, and that may even be true for me. But I don't care if it's true for me, because that's not what I want. What I want is to be happy, and the only time that I'm happy is doing the things that I've already mentioned and talked about. And yeah, I finally feel happy again. Like, the last couple of days have been so freeing. It gives me something to look forward to, because that's another problem in my life. I don't have anything to look forward to. It's just wake up, deal with the hell in my fucking brain, deal with toxic bullshit that I'm trying to cut out. And I mean, I get to make content, and that's fun, but that's just sort of a given. So having something to look forward to, having something to be excited about again, is just amazing. Now, am I ready for the heartbreak of when I finish Remake and Rebirth and all that? Yeah, of course not. Because they're amazing games, amazing worlds, amazing characters and everything. And, you know, even if it's a game that I'm replaying, like, even, for example, when I replay Resident Evil 4 for the millionth time, I still feel that, like, sadness whenever it's over, just because, you know, I finally found a place where I feel like I belong, and then it's just kind of, you know, then the credits roll, and then it's like, well, damn, now I gotta go find another game. But, you know, that's like the fun of it, right? Because then you finish one game, then you go to the next, you just keep it going. It keeps giving me something to look forward to. It keeps giving my brain something to look forward to. And yeah, it's just been so nice, because, again, I'm just doing what I used to do, where I just wake up, work, and then get back to gaming. And I remember yesterday, especially, I was sitting there recording my video, and in the back of my mind the whole time, I was like, man, I really want to go play Final Fantasy right now. And even now, I'm not gonna lie, I still kind of have that, but I gotta wait like another 4 or 5 hours, about 5 hours yet, roughly, until I can, you know, finish work and everything like that for the day. So I still got a while to go, but I'm really looking forward to it. And, you know, I'm genuinely smiling right now. I can't tell you how long it's been since I've genuinely smiled. You know, I smile in all of my videos, but it's hardly been genuine in a lot of them, unfortunately. But right now I'm genuinely smiling, because I'm just thinking about it. Like, man, sure, the real world is kind of cool sometimes, you know, I'm like sitting here recording my videos and this is fun, but you know where I really want to be right now? I want to be back in Midgar. I want to be running around town with Cloud and Barrett and Tifa, finishing up my quest, because I'm on chapter 14 right now. I'm doing all the quests for all the people. I'm out chocobo hunting right now. And it's like, man, I really just want to do that. I want to go back to that world. Just put on my headphones, turn them up, and just get lost in it. And because that's what makes me happy. And after all this time, after all the bullshit that especially 2025 has put me through, just with everything I've experienced, it's nice to finally be happy again. And have that sense of normalcy, and that sense of, I have something to look forward to, I have something to live for, and yeah, that's really all there is to it. I'm just happy to actually want to be happy and want to live and have something to look forward to again. It's nice. It really is. Anyways, with that being said, I've been yapping for a while, so I don't want to drag this out any longer than I have to. I'm gonna finish editing this video. I'm gonna go do my other work for the day, and then in like 4.5 hours, like, dude, I'm already smiling just thinking about it. I'm gonna turn on my PS5, put on my headphones, and get back to it. And man, I'm so fucking excited. I'm so fucking happy. And in terms of the channel and the content, I mean, everything else will just stay the same. We'll just keep doing what we're doing, keep rolling along, keep the heart in it. Keep the heart in it, keep the happiness in it, keep the genuinity in it. Is that a word? Genuinity, genuineness, whatever. Just keep that going. And gonna work to make sure that all the smiles in my videos are genuine. But anyway, as always, a massive shout out to all the patrons and channel members to get all you in the low ball tier, and an even bigger shout out to the mobile team, the last king, and the many, and the biggest shout out to G tier, and I'm some cheese cool. Thank you guys so much, you guys have little legends. I love you. Good on you, Dodaki, Arigito, Gozaimasu. Have an amazing day, stay beautiful. I love you all.